Hello everyone, this is Francis with Logix ICF. This is the second video in a series of videos on how to use the Logix Estimator. So in this video we're going to actually go through an example and work it through the Logix Estimator. So what I've got here is just something I drew up. If you look at the floor plan, pretty simple layout. It's basically a 30 by 22 foot building footprint with a basement and 2 stories above grade. So the basement is an 8-inch Logix basement. First floor is 6 1/4 inch Logix, and the second floor is 6 1/4 inch Logix. So we're gonna work this into the Logix Estimator and see what kind of estimates we get. So to start with, let's open the Estimator. Okay, I have the Logix Estimator open. This is the first thing you see when you open the program. You only have 2 choices: either start a new estimate or open an existing file. For our example, we're starting a brand new estimate, so we click on New. And it's pretty straightforward. The first thing it does is ask us, or it brings us to the project info sheet. So we enter the information on this sheet. Project name, I'll say it's demo estimate. Quote date, that should say today's date, but that's easy to change. We'll just put in the actual date. We'll probably have that fixed in the next update. The expiration date defaults to today's date, and we'll make that at the end of the month. The currency, you could either choose US or Canadian. The location of the project, US or Canada. Depending what you choose, it's going to change your rebar to either metric for Canada or imperial for the US. So if I chose Canada, it would give me metric rebar sizes, and if I choose US, imperial rebar sizes. We'll stick with the US, so we'll get the Canadian or the US imperial metric bar sizes. For customer, let's say name is John Smith. So you might have noticed it brings up an autocomplete drop-down list. So as you type, it actually saves what you type. So the next time you're in there, it'll remember what you typed in, just to make it a little more efficient for you. Phone number, and that goes for all or if not most of these fields. I'll just put in some arbitrary number. Company name, I'll say is ABC Inc. Just something I made up. Put in required information. Under the state and province, it will list all the states and provinces for the US and Canada. Okay. And again, these drop downs are showing because it remembered what I entered previously. Author name, that would be me. Phone number is fine. Quote is fine. Company is Logix ICF. So everything looks good there. We'll leave it the way it is. This logo that you see here says logo for use in report. So if you click on it, you can choose whatever logo you want to use for your report. So in our case, we're using the Logix Estimator or the Logix logo for the report. So when we print the report or view it, that's the logo that's going to show up. So you do have the ability to add your own company logo to the reports. Labor and materials, pretty straightforward. Just type in or enter what it's asking for there. And again, it's going to calculate your labor rates, etc., based on what you enter under labor and materials. In this case, we're going to use Logix Pro Buck for the buck material. As you can see, there's a number of choices you can choose from. Also, another thing to note is once you enter all this information, the next time you start a new estimate, these will be your default values, so you don't have to keep entering it if it's the same values you use on a regular basis. Okay, so I've got all that entered. What I'm going to do, it's always good practice to save whenever you can, so I'm going to save this file and name it demo. Click save. You know it's saved because it'll show you in your status bar at the bottom here. Okay, so once we got all that entered, we can go ahead and start entering information for the estimates for the building itself. So when you're doing your first estimate, this is basically what you see. Just everything's grayed out except the red button, a plus sign. So it's going to ask you, once you click it, it'll default a name for your building part and the associated wall section for it. So for our example, we've got a basement that is 8 inches thick, and for the basement itself, we see that there's a 4-inch Logix interior wall. We also can, so there's basically 2 wall thicknesses for the basement. If you take a closer look, you'll see that the floor itself is connected to the 6 1/4 inch block. And I did that just to show you how flexible this program can be. So we're going to consider that as part of the basement as well. So we're going to have a 8-inch exterior wall and a 4-inch interior wall, and then we're going to include 1 course of 6 1/4 inch for our basement building part. So we'll call this building part basement. And we'll say the 8-inch exterior wall, we'll just name it that for a wall section. Click the plus button and name the next wall part 8-inch interior wall, and then click the plus button again, and I'll call this 6 1/4 inch course. And that's it. You've entered your wall sections for your basement. Now we can enter the wall section names for the other parts of the building. So we still have our first floor and our second floor here, and they're both 6 1/4 inches. So we can put that all in the same building part. We could separate it again if we wanted to, but it all depends how you want to organize it. So for this one, we will call it upper floors. And we'll call it first floor. Wall section, and then we have our second floor wall section. Okay, so we've got all our building parts and wall sections defined. So we've got 2 building parts, the basement and the upper floors, with the associated wall sections. I could have just made one building part and called it house and put all the wall sections under house if I wanted to. And again, it's your preference how you want to organize it. For me, this is the easiest way to read it and organize it. Plus, it makes it easier when you're doing your reporting, as you'll see. Okay, so we've got our building parts, wall sections entered. Now we can enter the section details for each wall section. Starting with the 8-inch wall, since it's already highlighted, what we're going to do is select the wall type. This is below grade. So depending what you choose, below grade or above grade, you'll notice that the horizontal rebar spacing here changes from 16 for above grade to 32 for below grade. So those are the default values it's going to choose. You can go ahead and change that if you want. Wall thickness is 8-inch. We have a number of different line of products for ICFs. Just for fun, we'll say all the walls are going to be built out of Pro Platinum. at least for the basement wall. The wall height, if we take a look, we're going to have two different wall heights here. We're going to have the 8-inch wall height and the 6 1/4 inch, which is just one course. So for the 8-inch, the wall height is going to be 9 feet 4. It's going to have 7 courses. So the wall height that it's asking for here is the actual wall height of the ICF courses itself. It shouldn't be confused with the floor to floor or floor to ceiling wall heights, because that's different. It's going to be close to it, but you want the actual courses you're going to be using. In this case, we're going to be using 7 courses, so 9 feet 4. So we enter 9 feet 4. Another thing you might notice is as you enter the wall height, this little section here called courses will automatically tell you how many courses you're going to need. So it's telling us 9 foot 4, we need 7 courses. If I enter 9 feet 3.5, it'll tell us that we need to trim 1/2 inch from the top course. If I enter 9 feet 8, tells us we need a height adjuster. If we don't want to include a height adjuster, all you do is click on the checkbox and it removes the height adjuster. But it will tell you you have to trim 4 inch from the top course. So there's a number of ways you can enter your wall height. The other way is, for example, you could just click on this button with the drop down arrow, which looks like a V, and it'll automatically just use the courses that's shown, the full height courses, so no trimming. So if I click it, it's using a 1/2 height and 7 full height courses, which gives us 10 feet. If you wanted to, there's a plus and minus button here as well. So if you wanted to add a course, you can, or you can remove courses. And as you do that, the wall height will change accordingly. Same thing with the 1/2 height here and the height adjuster. If you click on the number itself, it'll add or remove the 1/2 height or the height adjuster for you, and it will change the wall height accordingly. One more thing, if you entered, for example, the floor to ceiling height or the floor to floor height that's shown here instead, you can do that. Enter 10 feet 0.5 inches, and what it's going to tell you right away is that you need to trim 3.5 inches from the top course. And the other thing you have to keep in mind is the ICF is going to start from the top of the footing, not the top of the slab. So we do have to include the 4-inch slab. So let's make it, instead of 10 feet 1/2 inch, it's going to be 10 feet 4.5 inches. So we'll enter that in. And now it's telling us that we need 8 full height courses, but we have to trim 3.5 inches from the top of the course to get 10 feet 4.5 inches, which is from the top of footing to the top of this finished floor. If we just want to use full height courses with no trimming, that's shown here, just click on the down button and it'll automatically just include full height courses equaling 8, and it'll give you the height here, which is 10 feet 8 inches. But as you can see, the top floor has a 6 1/4 inch course attached to it. So we actually have to reduce that down by 1. So we end up with 7 courses. And we're doing that because we just want the 8-inch wall ICFs, because that's what we're working with right now. Hopefully that made sense, but I'm just trying to give you a demonstration how flexible the wall height options are that you have here. For the wall length itself, if we look at the floor plan, typically you're going to have to pull out your calculator and add this all up. What we've done is we've added a wall length calculator in the program itself. You can add a description if you want. I will say, if we start at this corner right here, I'll just say it's west side, upper north corner. West side, upper north corner. At least that way I know where I'm starting from. And all you do is you enter the wall length. So first one is 22. Next one is 2 feet followed by 4 feet. So 2, 4. I'm just hitting enter or tab to get through this really quick. 20, and then 30, and then 20. So 20, 30, and then 20. And as you can see, as you're adding lengths, it's totaling the total length for you, or adding up the total length for you. And then we now end up with 4 feet and then 2 feet again. So 4 feet and then 2 feet. And that's it. So our total wall length is 104 feet. You could also add a minus sign if you wanted to take a wall section away for whatever reason, and it'll take that away as well. So we'll just put that as 0. So once you're done that, you could click save and it'll put it in the wall length for you. You can go back in there and edit it if you want. So that's how you can enter the wall length. This case, we don't have any radius walls. Number of wall ends is, let's just keep it at, let's just say for this example, we have 2 wall ends. Also for fun, let's just say there's DRV panels in here. And zip ties, you have the option of using zip ties or hooks or none. We'll say we have zip ties. For corners, you have to specify whether they're inside or outside corners. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 outside corners. So we'll enter 6. And we've got 2 inside corners, so we enter 2 there. We don't have any 45s, so we don't have to enter anything there. For reinforcement, for the most part, you can leave the values as is for your default. You do have options of changing it if you want. If you know what the vertical and horizontal rebar is going to be, you can go ahead and change it. For waterproofing, let's say that the waterproofing is 9 feet 4. Waterproof length, let's say it's 104 feet, which is the building perimeter. Parging, let's just say it's 6 inches and 104 feet. And we could add a note here saying this is 8-inch exterior wall, or whatever you want to add, and that'll show up in the report. So we've entered section details for the 8-inch height. Let's just save that and move on. Okay, so we also noticed that in the 8-inch we have a brick ledge as well. So an 8-inch brick ledge. So whenever you've got any type of specialty forms, you can enter it in the Proforms section. So let's enter under Proforms. All you do is click the plus button, and then a new row will show up, and you have the option of choosing any of these from the drop-down item. We want the brick ledge. The wall length is already automatically entered from the data that you entered in section details. Use standard corners. That basically means for your brick ledge corners, do you want to use standard corner forms, or do you want to use do you want to create corners with your brick ledge? So we're going to say no, because we want to create corners with our brick ledge. Your inside and outside corners, that's automatically filled in for you from the section details as well. And we don't have any inside or outside 45-degree corners. Feel free to add a note if you want to as well. KD forms minor. Basically what that is if your wall section has a section of wall that you want to use KD forms, you can go ahead and do that. So I won't do that in this case, but I'll just give you an idea of what it looks like. So you could choose your exterior and interior KD panel to whatever shows up here, and enter the length and width for that specific wall section that's going to be a knockdown form instead of an 8-inch pro form. I'll just delete that for this example. And then we can go to the next opening, the next tab, which is openings. So let's just say that this is a walkout basement. So let's just say it's got some windows in it. Hit the plus button again, enter your window openings. So these are rough openings. I'm just gonna make some numbers up here. We'll say there's 2 windows of this size, which is 4 by 4. Your number of lintels and your lintel bar size is done automatically for you. You can go ahead and change it if you want. Your lintel bar size is going to change to either 1 or 2, depending on the thickness of ICF you chose. We chose 8, so it gave us 2 lintel bar sizes. Stirrups defaults to none, but you can change that as well. In this case, let's choose, there's the number 3 bar size, and stirrup spacing, let's say 6 inches. Door opening, let's say there's a door opening. Let's say it's 32 inches wide and 7 feet tall. Just one opening. And we'll say there's stirrups here as well for this example. Okay, so pretty straightforward. So once you've got your openings entered, you can go ahead and put in miscellaneous items if you got pilasters or T-walls. In our example, we actually do have T-walls, because if you look at the floor plan for the 8-inch, we've got the 4-inch connecting to the 8-inch. So we're going to have 2 T-wall sections on the north and south end of the 4-inch. So I'm going to go enter it here. We could enter it in our 4-inch interior if we wanted to, but for this example, we'll just do it for the 8-inch. So all you do is you click the plus button, because we're going to go ahead and use our Logix T-walls. Choose which size you want. We want the 8-inch to 4-inch. Number of T-wall sections, we're going to have 2, north and south end. So we'll enter 2. Height is entered in for us automatically based on what we enter in our section details. And that's basically it. I'm going to go ahead and save this. So we entered our information for the 8-inch exterior wall. I'm going to go ahead and enter information in now for our 4-inch interior wall. We'll start with the section details. This isn't a below grade or above grade. I would choose below grade for interior walls because the horizontal bar spacing will be 32 inches for that, which is fine for an interior wall, really. Form type, we'll just say it's pro form. Doesn't have to be anything special. Wall height, we'll say, is also 9 feet 4. So as you can see, it tells us that's 7 courses, no cutting required because there's no note for it. So we know we're good there. The wall length is 19 feet 9 inches. So we enter it there. One thing I should point out is for the wall length, if you hover over it, it'll tell you where you should take your wall length. So in this case, it's saying along the exterior face or the ICF or the concrete wall. So that's what we did here. You could take it on the interior, but as form gets bigger, you might be off a little more in terms of your estimate. Number of wall ends, there is none. DRV panels, we'll say there's none. We'll leave everything else the same. No corners. I think we're all good there. Waterproofing, parging, nothing there. There's no specialty forms as well, so we don't have to enter anything. No openings, and no miscellaneous items. And again, we don't enter the T-walls here because we already entered it in the 8-inch exterior section. So we're all good. So basically this is just a solid 4-inch, 9'4" tall wall that we put in. Okay, so we're done there. Now for a 6 1/4 inch course. So again, this is at the floor level here, and it's just one course. So all we do is we can say it's above grade. That'll give us 1 rebar in there, horizontal rebar. 6 1/4 inch. Form type, we'll stick with the Pro Platinums because that's what we've been using, I believe. Yep. Okay. Wall height, we can just say it's 16 inches. Wall length, again, we know it's 104 feet. And everything else can remain the same. Wall ends, we'll leave it the way it is. Well, just to be consistent, we'll put 2 wall ends in here as well because we did it for the 8-inch. Doesn't have to be, but we'll leave it that way for now. There's 6 inside corners to outside corners. Everything else will remain the same for reinforcement. There's no waterproofing or parging. We'll leave that out for now. And yeah, we could add a note if we want to. No specialty forms, no openings, and no miscellaneous items. It's just simple one course. So we've got all our information entered for the basement. Let's go ahead and save that. And now let's go to the next one, which is our upper floors. So let's work on our first floor first. So it's an above grade wall, 6 1/4 inches thick. We're working with Pro Platinum. And from our wall section, we can see we're using 8 courses. And again, this is the ICF wall height. Again, for this one, I'm going to stick with the floor to floor finish height for this example, just to demonstrate how you can sort of manipulate the wall height to what you need it to be. So if we did that, you could see that it's telling us that we have to trim off 3 inches from the top course, and it's saying we need 8 full height courses but trim 3 inches from the top. So what we could do is just click this button again, and it'll just use all full height courses, no trimming, and that'll give us 10 feet 8 inches. So that's basically what we've got here. Okay, so that's pretty much it there. For the wall length, it's going to be 104 feet as well. No radius walls. Let's say there's no wall ends, no DERV panels. Again, we've got 6 outside corners and 2 inside corners. And we'll leave everything else the same. We're not using any specialty forms. As you can see, it's just straight standard blocks. For your openings, we've got, let's say we've got some openings here. So let's say we got a 4x5 window and there's 3 of these. We're going to say there's no stirrups in this, just for this example. And we'll say there's another window type. We'll say there's 2x6 and there's 2 of these. And we'll say there's no openings as well, or no stirrups required. Door opening, we'll say there's a door that's, say, 6 feet by 7 feet, and there's 1 opening. And we'll say there's stirrups in this one, and we'll make it 6 inches. We'll add 1 more door and say it's 32 inches, 7 feet, 1 opening of this, and we'll say there is no stirrups. So that should tell us, that shouldn't show up. We could leave that as 6 as long as it says no stirrups. It won't calculate any. I think I accidentally put in 32 feet for this one. Yeah, I did. That should be 0. And we'll make that a 32-inch door opening. Okay, so that's correct. Okay, I'll save that. Okay, miscellaneous items. We're not using any pilasters or T-walls because for the first floor. So we're actually done there. So let's enter the second floor. Again, it's a 6 1/4 inch. As you can see, it's pretty much the same thing. The only difference really is the wall height. So instead of re-entering information that you just entered, what you could do is click on the copy data button here, and it'll allow you to copy data directly from a different wall section that you entered. So for ours, the building, we want to copy data from the first floor. So we go to the building part, which is upper floors, because that's where our first floor is, highlight it, and then click close and copy data. And it copied the data for me. So I didn't have to re-enter everything. The only thing I have to change is the wall height here. So in this case, we've got 8 courses. So I can, where is it? 6 courses. 6 courses. So what I can do is just click this minus button and bring it down to 6 courses. And as you can see, the wall height changed to 8 feet. Okay, the wall length stays the same. Everything else remains the same. Openings, we'll leave the openings the same as well, but we'll get rid of the doors, because we'll say there's no doors on the second floor. So we'll delete those, and we'll save it. And that is pretty much it. You might notice that there's these red dots that appear when you're going through your wall sections. What those red dots tell you is that you've got data entered in Proforms, openings, and miscellaneous items. If you don't see any, then that means you don't have any data entered in there. Okay, so we entered all our wall sections, our project info, everything's done. I saved it. Always good practice to save it. The only thing left now is just to run the report. So we'll go ahead and run the report.